Most filmmakers make films that they know people want to see. This is perhaps the type of film that people don't want to see. Although it deals with conservation, we focus on the danger of overprotecting one particular species at the expense of all the others.
Mid-July 1995, we had come to Africa to film Wildlife, a documentary that investigated in-depth elephant management throughout the continent of Africa, but in particular, Southern Africa. Our host was to be internationally acclaimed conservationist Ron Thompson. The weeks of extensive research and planning and lengthy pre-production meetings that usually befall a film crew were finally at an end, and we hastened to embark on an unforgettable journey across some of the most renowned national parks in the world. Botswana was to be our first destination. A quarter-ton of well-oiled motion picture equipment was prophesied to be our lot for the long duration of the shoot. Film and video cameras, a century of high-speed film stock, a crate of Sony's best. Maun is the safari hubcap of Botswana. It boasts a single bank, a post office, hotel, a tourist shop, and an airfield. Though the air is electric with arriving game enthusiasts, hunters, and photographers, service and efficiency was, needless to say, non-existent. Here again, you see us going about the ritual of eyeing all the gear, whilst our travel-weary cameramen bravely ventured a trip into the local airport WC. A whiff of things to come? Being on the customary tight shooting schedule, the film crew was left with little time for sightseeing. Chartered aircraft awaited our arrival. There's a shortage of usable airstrips for commercial airlines in Botswana. Kasane. On the Botswana border, further up north, was our stepping stone to the Okavango swamps. 15,000 square kilometers of serpentine azure waterways, islands, and oxhorn lakes. One of the world's most breathtaking wilderness areas. The stench of dead animals assaults your nose. A depot across the road purchases skins and tusks from animals legally shot. Mantelpieces. Once again, judicious production planning ensures a waiting 4x4s, ready to cart us off to the next film location, the cool Moana Lodge, situated cozily along the shady riverbank. Enthused with the hope of experiencing the joy of untainted wilderness and the thunder of thousands of stampeding buffalo, we hastily unpacked, having just enough time to shoot our first setup in Botswana. When filming abroad, and particularly across the denuded vastness that is Africa, traveling from one locale or location to another is the most time-consuming and costly production factor a film crew can encounter. There are many hindering factors when filming wildlife game. Unmapped wildernesses, ever-changing surface conditions, wildlife movement, predator concentration, rapidly accumulating cloud cover which threatens to disrupt long filming days by enforcing changing light conditions. Scalding, skin-blistering sunlight, that's just to name a few. The film crew is split into 2 units. Unit 1 will do a reconnaissance of the Chobe Park's interior. Aerial photography is required to illustrate a particular point in the script. It's important that locations are properly recce'd in order to maximize the usage of time. Originating in the Angolan Heights, the Chobe starts life as the Kwando, meandering south into the Linyanti swamps. This massive, largely impenetrable ocean of papyrus marshland is home to countless species of crocodile, hippo, lechwe, and unobtrusive sitatunga. The water converges along and becomes Botswana's northeastern boundary, eventually merging, becoming known as the Chobe River. Animals cling obstinately to drying water pans. We're informed that it's a combination of whirling dust devils and soaring temperature rises that continue to desiccate all but a few persistent pans. The second film unit is carrying out a ground recce of the Chobe Game Park. Road travel conditions vary immensely throughout the year, so we traveled along the roads which had seen the most use. Chobe is not very large, but because of Quagmire Sands, we allotted a full day for the journey through the park. At last, we hearkened the thunder of wildebeest, the snork of warthogs, the canvas thud of eagle wings, and the furtive skip of impala. Chobe is home to all of these wildly scattered animals, as well as some 75,000 elephant, which up to this point in our trip, we had not yet encountered. Another irony of filming in the bush. At noon, both units returned to the lodge for chilled drinks and a light buffet. Heavy stomachs promote apathy and sleep. A brief production meeting followed the location scout. As the film crew prepared outside for the day's shoot, Michael Garcia and Greg Pitts, our line producer, addressed any potential challenges which we might encounter. Everything was thus far running smoothly and according to schedule, which is a real compliment when one considers the unplanned proceedings of the bush. Outside in the courtyard of the lodge, the crew tweaked reflector boards and checked audio levels. The hosts posed for a stills photographer between takes. The stills are later used for promotional purposes. A record of all the events that occur on set is useful in the event of insurance claims.
For people who want to come and shoot films in Botswana, especially to do with the wildlife, there's a certain procedure that should be followed, and that is to go to the office of the president, seek permission from there, and once that is granted, copies of the permission will be sent to the relevant people, that's including the wildlife department and the game scouts at the gates, whichever gates. I mean, should it be in Moremi Game Reserve, Chobe National Park, or whatever game reserve that's existing in Botswana. And so that when they come, by the time that they arrive here with their equipment and crew, then they shouldn't have problems at the gates. For instance, you have a problem, once you're in the park, you're not allowed to go off the road, and it might turn out that certain situations they'll have to get closer to the animal, and that will mean driving off the road. And as such, this is something that is very important to be sorted out before time.
It's relatively easy for fishermen from across the river in Namibia to ply their trade internationally in the ancient Mokoro. You need considerable skill to stand up and propel one of these unstable craft by pushing on the riverbed with a long pole. This kind of practice takes a childhood. Many fishermen have died tipped over and chomped to death by pink-jawed flabby hippopotami.
Okay, where I'm standing at the moment is in a place called Moana Lodge. Moana Lodge meaning baobab, which is where the lodge is actually surrounding. Majority of the people that come around to this area is for Chobe National Park, which is approximately 11,700 square kilometers. Another reason why they come here is to see the abundance of elephants, lions and buffalo we have in this national park, including the bird life. A lot of people say we have far too many elephants in this park. They will be correct. We have a rough number of about 60 to 65,000 head of elephant here. Big herds of buffalo, a lot of lions.
The Chobe Game Park has to share its limited food resources with a host of other large animals, including one of the big five, the African buffalo, which roams freely across the park. The largest predators in the Chobe Park are lions, who survey all they see with an astounding regal presence.
And that's why you're okay with that.
The best time to reminisce is between setups whilst in transit. Although sometimes hard to hear one another, a thumbs up will suffice. Kasane is no more than a sprawling squatter community, a village that boasts various administration offices, but mostly its people are employed in servicing the needs of the tourists and hunters visiting the wildlife areas. The atmosphere is abuzz with excitement as foreigners come and go from game viewing or concession areas. It's almost suicidal to go out and shoot under a scalding midday sun. Not that the afternoon is any better. One single minute sequence can take hours to film, and the possibility of dehydration is always very real. There's no shelter, no shade. Temperatures can easily soar into the 40s. The crew has to be prepared to cope with the suffocating heat. So you live with wide brim headgear. You swallow liquid even when you're not thirsty. You squeegee tanning lotion every hour on the hour. Noses and back of necks are most susceptible. Ron informs us that this area was once a forest teeming with indigenous wildlife, since destroyed by the overabundant elephant population in the park. The loss of this particular forest has since led in turn to the loss of other plant-eating animals. Inevitably, they're predators too. A shortage of usable roads forces us to leave the main road in the safety of our vehicles to capture the elephants on film at one of their more popular watering holes. Getting off the road is not always advisable. Authorities don't allow it, and the penalty is a fine, if not always imprisonment.
Okay, no problem. I will leave radio on if you'd just like to phone me in on that to just tell the rest of the group here.
Okay, are all 10 of them with you and Duncan right now, over?
The camera and sound gear straps cut blisters into our shoulders. Observant and well-armed game wardens are our rear-end eyes and ears, advising us to stay downwind and which paths to take. It is extremely unwise for an inexperienced party to enter the bush unguided, just as it would be unhealthy for a Kalahari bushman to walk the streets of Los Angeles alone. In a hostile bush environment, we're constantly being gazed upon by animals that would like to eat us.
You wanna get it set. Then I can do it.
Many a predator lies in wait for its victim. Fortunately, our feline observer lacked a taste in foreign takeouts. As good fortune would have it, on several occasions that day we found ourselves right in the path of huge herds of elephant, making their way down to the river to imbibe its cool, flowing liquid. The rule of the bush being to allow rite of passage, we speedily moved our cameras and ourselves out of harm's way. To get at more spectacular locales and not risk intimidating very thirsty elephants wanting to get past us to get a drink at their wallow, we boated the river in a relatively small, though silent and smooth platform, ideal for filming. Our skipper negotiated croc and hippo-infested waters all the way to an area a little further upstream where we were presented with some superb photographic opportunities of imbibing elephant along the embankment. princely fish eagles, aggressively territorial and undisputed king of the ornithological tomes, stared down arrogantly from a regal perch. As luck would have it, a film cartridge always needs changing when you most stand the chance of losing a once-in-a-lifetime shot. Here our clapper loader, Ryan Davies, must thread a fresh unexposed spool of film in complete darkness. In the background, a classic fish eagle shot threatens to dismantle. Nimble though subconsciously competent fingers ensure that the spool is loaded before the shot is lost. Unlike video, which is easily viewable on a portable monitor, film is sensitive and easily prone to destruction. However, film still has a depth of field and rich chemical color brilliance and a cinematic breadth quite unlike the electronic color and two-dimensionality of video. As another day dawned, the crew collapsed from sheer exhaustion and enjoyed the last several minutes of sunlight in restful tranquility. In the dark, the partying lion readied themselves for the activity of the night. Any locale picked for filming is immediately locked off as a set. Every member of the crew has an important function. We all shared many hats. You have to, because very mobile crews on wildlife features are substantially smaller than on dramas or action pictures. The more of you there are stomping through the bush, the less animal you'll see.
The 1976 United Nations report concluded that unless the elephant population increase here at Chobe was checked, that the elephants would begin damaging their habitats.
That side of the box.
They indicated then which side of the box.
That side.
This
You
side.
just walk up to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great.
Action! Unless the elephant population increase was checked then, the elephants will begin damaging their habitat.
17, take 2. Mark.
Action! Unfortunately, few such natural ecosystems occur today. Most elephant sanctuaries are either surrounded by intense human developments or by elephant-proof fences. This means that the elephants cannot or will not disperse. Instead, they continue to increase annually at the expense of their habitat.
It's important to stay jovial. Conditions aren't always 5-star. The director sets up much of the feeling and tone amongst the crew. As the line producer keeps stating, a happy crew is a happy picture. A well-coordinated production team stationed in Johannesburg, the capital of South Africa, well, at least until last week, ensured that our charter planes were waiting to carry us out of Botswana that afternoon to Southwest Africa, Namibia, via the Maputo border post, and onto a private landing field on the Caprivi Strip.